to understand the purpose of hardship, we have to bring it back to the purpose of our creation. Allah is very clear in the Quran about the purpose of our creation. What did we say our purpose is? Ubudiyya, right? Worship. To be a slave to Allah. What does that tell us about success? What does that now tell us about success? Clearly, that anything that brings me closer to being a abd, anything that brings me closer to that worship of Allah in the best way is success. And anything that takes me away is failure. Now let's go back to the question of pain. And now in that context, let's talk about hardship. So let me give you guys some examples. We talked about this in the other session. Loss. The loss of money, the loss of health, the loss of freedom. Someone who gets wrongfully imprisoned. When they are in prison, they find Islam. You know, there's many people who convert in prison. In the States, there's many people who convert in prison. Look at Malcolm X, right? He lost his freedom. But what did he get? So that loss, that hardship, was it bringing him closer to success or failure? Success. And therefore, was it something good for him or bad for him? Good for him. This becomes the new criteria of how we judge everything. Is it bringing me closer to my purpose or farther away? Can we now go back to the question that a lot of people have trouble with, to the extent that it leads some people to become atheists? Why do bad things happen to good people? The question of why do, quote, bad things happen to, quote, good people. Why am I using quotation marks in those words? Because it's all about the definition of good and bad. The reason we come to this question, that we even ask this question, or we get caught up in this question, is because we don't have the proper definition of good and bad. I will argue to you that bad things never happen to good people. Bad things never happen to good people. And you know what my proof is? The words of the Prophet ﷺ. عَجَبٌ لِأَمْرِ الْمُؤْمِنِ. He says that the matters of a believer are strange. أَمْرُهُ كُلُّ خَيْرٍ. All of his matters are khair, are good. So you see what the Prophet ﷺ is saying? He's saying only good things happen to good people. Bad things never happen to good people. That's our answer. The question is that the problem is that you have defined good and bad wrongly, because you have defined good and bad based on your dunya definition. And if your dunya, if your goal is dunya, then you have the wrong definition. Anything that brings me closer to dunya, I consider good. So getting money is always good. Even if it takes me away from Allah, it's considered good. Getting away from dunya, it's considered bad. Even if it brings me closer to Allah. You see, the problem is, which is your definition of good and bad? And that is based on what is your ultimate goal and what is your purpose.